It's virtual conference coverage at Geekazine. We're here with Francis Crossman, and you're with Adobe and Premiere Pro. That's what we're going to talk about today, correct?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm a senior product manager on Premiere Pro.
Of course, March updates came out and some really cool stuff with captioning and a couple other things. Why don't you tell us, everybody, what you guys came out with?
Yeah, well, there's really two really big things that Premiere released in the March release. The first one is a new, completely reimagined captioning workflow. And the other one is an extension to our motion graphics templates, which we're calling media replacement. It allows you to replace content in motion graphics templates with your own. And this has been one of the biggest feature requests from our users since we first introduced motion graphics templates.
Okay. Yeah, and I don't deal with too much with motion capture templates, so it's going to be interesting. It's a little learning curve for me on this side of things. So how does it work?
Well, the way that one works is you first author the template in After Effects, and you can designate certain things like images or videos as being replaceable. Then when you consume them into Premiere Pro, you can actually drop in replacement things. So you could imagine making a template where you could replace logos, or maybe you're doing a roundup, like a highlights reel, and you want to have different pieces of video that you can replace. And it just makes customizing your content a lot easier. Okay. It's also worth noting that our designers have created a large pack of assets that you can get from Adobe stock. So if you don't want to go through the trouble of designing these templates yourself in After Effects, you can get them from Adobe stock.
Okay, well, that's great. That's good to know. And we will be talking with the people over on the After Effects side to learn a little bit more about this one. So you want to talk about captions, right?
Yeah, that's the main thing I'd like to touch on today.
Okay.
Captioning, we had a workflow in Premiere Pro historically, and it's no secret that it was not beloved. So we really went completely back to the drawing board on this one and completely redesigned it from the ground up. We took a lot of feedback from our beta community, and we took a lot of feedback from our user voice community, which is the way that you can give us feedback on features and request features. And we designed what we think is a really, really intuitive and easy to use captioning experience.
With the captions, of course, I do a lot of YouTube stuff, so I just kind of let it self-caption. And I've tried to use the captions before in some interesting ways. Show us how different it is.
Well, before I jump into that, I just want to say that, captioning is really important. It makes your videos a lot more accessible to a broader range of users. If you put captions as a sidecar file into your YouTube videos, for example, you can turn the stream on and off, and then you get the benefit of Google Translate. Of course, also putting captions onto your project makes it accessible for people who have limited hearing. It's really important to think about captioning your content as a content creator. I want to get into a demo. So Here I am inside of Premiere Pro, and I've got a short sequence here. It's only about 16 seconds long, but I've got on audio 1, I've got some voiceover. You can see the individual clips here. And on A2, I've got some music. And what I want to do is actually add captions for what's being spoken. So let me just play back a little bit so you can kind of get a sense.
Right now is a great time to create, because what we have a lot of right now is time.
Okay, we don't need to listen to the whole thing right now, but what we're going to do is there's a few different options for how you can go about this. First off, what you want to do is jump into the Captions workspace, which is right up here, and that's going to open up two things.
Is that really quick? Is that a new tab?
Yeah. It is actually, yeah. So this is a new workspace, and it ships by default. It opens up two things, which is the text panel over here. That's where basically the magic happens. And it opens up the Essential Graphics panel, which I'll get to in a second.
Okay.
So you've got a few options for transcribing. You can do it by hand. You can use a service such as like rev.com or Descript, one of these established companies. Or we've got a super secret feature that's going to be coming out later, which is speech to text transcription. So you're getting a little bit of a sneak peek of a feature that we haven't shipped yet, but we're going to be shipping.
Okay.
For right now, let me just do the manual way and give you a sort of a taste of what that looks like. So the first thing I'm going to do is hit create a new caption track. And this is going to bring up a dialog asking me what kind of caption track do I want to create. If you look in this, most of these options are geared at broadcasters. So you've got like, you know, the CEA 708, 608, which are used in North America mostly.
Yeah.
Subtitle is going to have the broadest range of formatting options. That's the default. And that's what I recommend for most content creators out there. So you can just leave that. I'm going to gloss over these other options for right now because I'll cover them in a bit. And this creates a new caption track right on my timeline. So now in addition to audio and video, we've got a caption track.
Okay.
And over here in the text panel, what I can do to drop a new caption onto the track is just hit this plus button. So that's going to add a new caption. And then I can literally just type out what I hear. So let's listen to it.
Right now is a great time to create.
So then I would literally either in the program monitor right here, I can type right now is a great time to create. You can also, of course, type in the text panel. So whichever one makes sense for you.
I'm seeing some formatting and stuff like that. Does that make a big difference when, because I'm assuming that these captions are going to go into whatever service or whatever streaming, and then they're going to be formatted themselves, correct?
Yeah, totally. So this formatting is going to allow you to make really nice looking captions if you intend to burn them into your video image. If you are just going to be using this to create captions for a sidecar file, so say you're going to upload them to YouTube and allow the user, you know, the actual viewer to be able to turn the caption stream on and off, you don't have to worry too much about the styling in that case.
Okay.
But let me just show you actually some of the styling since we're talking about it. Over here in the Essential Graphics panel, I've got my caption selected. And this is going to be all of the very familiar graphics editing tools. If you've used any of the graphics features in Premiere before, this is going to be very familiar to you. So, of course, we can choose things like the font. You know, maybe I want to use, there's this Arial round font that I kind of like. We can increase the font size, you know, all the regular stuff that you would kind of expect.
Yeah.
Alignment, tracking, leading, all the faux styles, you know, like bold, italic, and all caps. Essentially just all the things you would expect. But here's actually something that's a little bit specific to captions, and this is the like zone alignment controls.
Okay.
So if you come across a piece in your video where, like, let's say you have a lower third, or there's some content that, you know, is being obstructed by the captions, you can easily just scoot them to like another place on screen.
Okay.
And so I would say that bottom center is definitely the most common place for captions to be. But then again, like let's say you're doing a product demo and the captions are obscuring the actual product because it's down here. You could scoot them up to the top, really simple. And then you don't have to mess around with XY coordinates.
All right.
Of course, those are there in case you really want to get super precise about it. But you don't need to. You can just use this zone control.
Okay. Do you also have the ability to keyframe that? So let's say you want to incorporate that into the shot. Maybe this scene of looks like New York City does some movement, and you want to have the caption move along with it. Can that be done?
That's not supported with captions.
Okay.
In that case, I would say a regular Premiere graphic would be a better option. And then in that case, you've got all the keyframing and motion abilities that you would expect.
Okay.
Yeah, captions are just static. Let me change the color here. Let's go with sort of a nice yellow, and maybe I want to add an outer stroke to this, maybe a white stroke. That's a little hard to read. Let's change that to black. And of course, we've got shadow and background fills if you need that. It's a little hard to see against this dark background. Yeah. Maybe let's move to a lighter frame, and let me turn on the background. Let's change that to black, which is kind of a common color, and we can make this a little bit bigger. Again, a little bit difficult to see against this dark background, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once you've landed on a style that you like, you can save it here in the track styles. And you can actually see that I've got some styles that I've created previously. So like, you know, this is a white style. Here's a kind of a fun one I call Pirate Times, which, you know, you could use that for like a, I don't know, maybe like a Lord of the Rings type thing, or maybe this one is better for Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
You know, you can really have some fun with these things.
Absolutely. Can that be switched between caption lines, or is once you pick one for the whole thing?
You pick one for the whole track.
Okay.
And then that's going to ensure that additional captions that I create on this track are going to inherit that same style. But if you do need to make individual, you know, different choices for individual captions, that is possible. So like, let me duplicate this, for example, over here. I just held down the Option key.
Okay.
And let's fill in this text.
Because what we have a lot of right now.
So let's say this particular text, I wanted it to be a different color.
Okay.
Like, you know, let's make this pink just for argument. Then I can have this one be yellow and that one be pink.
Nice. So if you had a one-on-one conversation, for example, my text could be one color, your text could be another color.
Yeah, totally.
Awesome.
So, of course, manually transcribing in the way that I've done it here is very time consuming. And so there's better ways to approach this. Today, what you can do is you can send your finished video off to a transcription service, and then you can get back from them an SRT file. So let me just delete this track. Let me show you what that looks like. So here I've just got like a regular SRT file, and I'm going to drag it onto my timeline. This is going to ask me the same questions as before. You know, what kind of subtitle or what kind of caption track do I want to make? I'm going to choose subtitle. I can choose the style. So I'll choose round yellow. And here we go. I've got all the captions onto my track, and that came from an SRT file.
Nice.
Now, in the future, we're going to make this even more convenient. So let me delete this again, and let me show you what we're going to be releasing once we get our AI-driven speech-to-text process in here.
Okay. So
what you're seeing in my interface here is a peek into the future. This is actually not what is shipping in 15.0. I'm going to show you how this works. So I'm going to hit transcribe sequence, and this is going to ask me basically what audio do I want to use for my transcription. Now, I'm a very clean editor, and I've got my voiceover on A1, so I'm going to choose that. I'm going to choose my language. We've got good language support right out of the gate, and I'm going to hit transcribe. So what's happening now is it's actually rendering out my audio. It's sending it up to a service where we're running speech-to-text analysis on it, and then that's going to be delivered back to our Sensei-driven natural language processing. So I know that's all a mouthful, but Adobe Sensei is our machine learning and artificial intelligence framework.
Okay.
And basically, we're going through and formatting this to basically read like a natural human would have spoken it. And so this is going to be a very high quality transcription. So if I play this back, you're going to see it follow word by word.
Right now is a great time to create.
And of course, I can also click on the transcript itself, and you'll notice that my timeline is jumping automatically to different words.
Oh, nice.
So this is very convenient. We've also got speaker identification. So if you have a 2-person interview, for example, we'll be able to tell who's speaking. And
will that automatically realize that it's a different voice and then say speaker 2, or you have to do that manually?
What it will show here is it'll show speaker 1, speaker 2. You can give them names.
Yeah.
And then that's going to help you in your editing process.
Nice. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So we don't have captions yet. What we need to do now is hit create captions. So I'm going to do that. We're seeing the same dialogue again, which is familiar by this point. I'm going to choose subtitle, and I'll choose my style, and I'm going to hit OK. Now you can see that this has dropped captions onto my project. And that was a very quick process.
Yeah.
Very little manual intervention.
Yeah, just probably just some correcting of some terms or something like that. You know, like when I say Geekazine, it's always geek something else or anything like that. So
yeah, totally. So in that instance, we do have a search and replace feature. So if you search for, like here, let's do an example. If I'm searching for time, we see several occurrences of that. Let's say for the sake of argument that this was spelled wrong, I can change it to time, like the herb, and replace all instances, and I'll do it throughout the transcript.
Okay.
So if we were consistently getting Geekazine wrong, you can totally fix that.
There's no add to dictionary type option, is there?
No, we don't have that yet.
Okay.
So now once you're done and you're totally happy with your captions, you've got 2 options for exporting. You can either do burned in or as a sidecar file. So I'm just going to go Command M to bring up the export options. Let me just choose like a regular kind of everyday YouTube preset. Over here in the captions tab, we've got 2 options. There's burn captions into the video. We can see that here. Or we can choose to create a sidecar file. And when you create a sidecar file, that's going to export as essentially a text file. We've got 2 options here, STL and SRT. SRT is by far the most common, and that's what I would recommend folks to use. And so let me just go ahead and do an export. Looks like I've got a few exports here that I've done previously.
Yeah.
And so this should go pretty quickly. And then I'll just show you really quick what that's going to look like, what you actually end up with. This is the file that I just exported.
Yeah.
If I look at this.
Right now is a great time to create because what we have a lot of right now is time.
It's clean. There are no captions burnt in. But this is the SRT that got exported. So what you would do is then you would go, if you were posting this on YouTube, for example, you go ahead and upload the clean version. And then once it's processed, you can upload the SRT, and then your viewers can turn that stream on and off.
That's awesome.
And of course, if you do want to burn them in, and that would be a good option for platforms like Instagram, Twitter, other platforms that don't support that sidecar file.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can create really good looking burned in captions.
Yeah. So I can do a realignment to a 4:3 or something like that, and then put the captions in there, and then of course the YouTube video, the captions would be in the SRT, which would then go up afterwards. That's awesome. I know you have to get going here, but one quick question, and that is this new captioning system. You said it's not going to be out yet. Is there going to be any extra cost to doing that, or is that part of the system?
Yeah, so we haven't worked all that out yet. We're not ready quite to talk about the business side of things.
Okay.
But just to be ultra clear, the captioning workflow, which is all of the ability to add and edit captions on the timeline, That has already shipped in version 15.0, so you can employ that today. You can import SRTs, you can do manual transcription. The speech to text is in an early access program right now, so if you'd like to try that out, you can apply.
Well, there were some other features, but I know you've got to get going here that we could have talked about, but I know you got to get going here. So thank you very much for your time for explaining the captions there. And I'm definitely going to give it a try and try a couple of videos, see how it works on Geekazine.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for having me.
Thanks a lot for watching this video. If you're over on geekazine.com or youtube.com/Geekazine, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, hit the bell notification so you know when the next video comes out. Until next time, you guys geek out and take care.